What's up guys, my name is Daniel. I draw cards and turn them into 3D prints using HueForge, and I also do HueForge tutorials for all of you. Today we are going to start off season 2 of the artist series. We're going to change things up a little bit for season 2. Season 1, I focused on digital artists and photographers and doing walkthroughs of their work to show them what was possible with this brand new medium where they could turn their work into these beautiful 3D prints. For season 2, we're going to start reaching out to 3D modelers and 3D artists to turn their work into hybrid HueForges. For people that don't know, a hybrid HueForge is a traditional 3D model and a HueForge put together. Whether that means we're taking an organic model and putting it into a HueForge to create a really cool 3D effect, or whether we're taking a HueForge and putting it on a functional design to give it a little bit more beauty. If you want a step-by-step tutorial, I have one here, go check it out. But in the artist series, it's a little bit more laid back. It's more of a walkthrough than a tutorial. And for season 2, we are gonna kick it off with Kekreations. If you watched season 1 of the artist series, I featured her in episode 3. She was one of the first color match episodes that I did, and she has some amazing 2D and 3D work. She does a lot of really cool flexi models. You can go check her out over on Patreon. She also has social media. She's primarily over on TikTok. She's also here on YouTube. I'll post her links all down in the description. I think that this new twist to the artist series is gonna be a really fun time, and I think that you guys are gonna learn a lot from it. So without further ado, let's get into today's video. This video is sponsored by NewMakers. Want to keep your 3D prints fresh and vibrant? Meet NewMakers, your go-to filament for quality, color, and consistency. NewMakers has a growing library of colorful 3D printing filament perfect for your next project. They offer some of the brightest colors at very affordable prices. They also have a monthly subscription service, NewBox, where you'll receive 2 spools of new colors or special materials and 1 spool of their standard PLA Plus for only $39. If you're looking for quality filament on a budget, go to newmakers.com and use code NEOKOIPRINTS at checkout for 10% off your next order. So this is the image that I generated for this project, and the reason that I did a top-down view is so that the dragon will look like it's flying over this town, and I think that it's going to look really, really cool. It's going to give it that really nice 3D effect. For this, there's a lot of detail here. We're going to make this pretty big. Right now, I think it's at 200 by 200. So we can actually make this a little bit bigger to fit on the bamboo plate. We're going to make it 245 by 245. And then we'll shrink down the dragon just a little bit whenever we stack it in the slicer. So for now, let's go ahead and we're going to start adding colors from our image. In color match, we have a mesh core and a color core. We have to start out by building the mesh based on what colors we see here, and then we will add real filaments to it. So here we have some blues. We're going to grab the closest colors that I own in my library. Considering there's a lot of detail, I'm also just going to go ahead and bring this layer height down to 0.04. That way we get a little bit more, we get more color blending area, and we'll also get a lot more of this detail. So let me grab the lightest parts of this. We can bring this in. We'll bring this down. We have a lot of saturation marks. Now, just because it's blue-green, just because it's a blue-green color doesn't necessarily mean that we have to use blue-green whenever we are in color core. I'm just grabbing colors that I see within the image. That way HueForge knows to make the mesh based on this color. So we're going to start off with blue, then we're going to work our way into green, and then we will work our way into red and these tan colors. So again, these are not necessarily the colors that I'm going to use whenever we come over to the color core. It's just the way that I'm making the mesh. So let's go ahead and we're going to grab some greens. I'll turn this to the side so that you can see it a little bit better. I need to go ahead, if we come over to model geometry, I'm going to go ahead and turn on spike removal just to kind of help us clean up those edges a little bit. So we've got our water, we've got the majority of our foliage. Now let's grab some tan colors. We might need to grab this blue. That looks more gray. Let's grab the darker blue side of it. And I might end up moving around the location of blue down, but we'll just see as things progress. Bring everything up. I'm holding control and mouse wheeling to bring everything from this slider and up or down. So this whole group above this slider, whenever you hold control and mouse wheel, it will bring everything up or down depending on where you're mouse wheeling. So we have everything good there. Now let's go ahead and we'll start bringing in roof colors. We can get rid of this gray. We can get rid of this white for now. I'm hitting spacebar. If you need to get rid of these flags, you can actually hover over it and hit delete, and it'll get rid of these colors completely. You'll get rid of the flags, clean up your mesh core and your color core. So let's grab, we'll grab the darkest and the lightest. And so right now I'm just going around and playing with colors that I see within the image. You can see this area is blue in the actual image itself. That's why it's matching the way it is. We're gonna grab some blue here. We're gonna grab a more opaque white to kind of help out with those brighter areas. Let's grab these blue areas. We're going to select them. We'll copy the selection. We'll actually just cut the selection and paste it up top. That way we bring it up on top of where we want it. Now the reason that you're seeing the edges the way that they are is because it's actually showing you what it'll look like when we do the color swap. So that's why it kind of looks as tan as it does. Bring in a little bit more green. Give this a little bit more depth. They're starting to shape up a little bit. So where are these boats matching? Yeah, they should match here. So this is pretty passable for me. I think that we could bring this down, bring blue areas all the way to the top, and that would be fine. Yeah, that looks a lot better. Okay, so we have our blue areas on the topmost. This looks really cool. The water being blue-green down here really helped bring the boats to life, and then the water up here is above because it's just a little bit brighter of a blue. So this looks really cool from the side. I think that this is going to print out very well. Now again, we're not going to use the same colors. You can see there's some blue areas here that are showing through, and the reason that is because like zoom into the image, you can see that they're actually blue areas that it's trying to match up with. That's just how color match is. So I mean, it's pretty accurate as far as colors are concerned when it's trying to match them up. So other than that, I think that this is pretty close. So now that we have our mesh done, we need to come over to color core. This kind of looks like a mess. So we need to bring in some colors that we have from over here. I'm going to use that blue green again. And then I have the serpent green, the chrominal serpent green. That's a high TD. It's a little bit dark. So we might need to bring in something a little more bright for that to get a little bit better blending. We're going to play around with it and see what we can get. If the water wasn't matching here, I'd probably bring this blue, this bluish green, this teal type color up to the top. But since it is, we want to make sure that it's down low. That way the boats are sitting on top of it. This rust copper looks pretty good. And then we can probably go with like beige brown. Let's see what we have here. I think that that looks pretty good. Grab a high TD white to get a little bit more blending out of this. Probably just use that instead of using the skin tone to get all this blending area. I don't love the way that this looks. Right now we're at, let's go to describe. Right now we're at 9 unique colors. So I'm trying to cut down as much as I can as far as colors are concerned to make this, you know, printable for most people. I think that's pretty good. Could be a little darker. There we go. That peach brings a lot more color to this. Let's grab military khaki and try this here. There's not as much red in this as I would like, but I think other than that, it's pretty good. So I think right now we're at 12. Yeah, 12 colors. I think the compromises that I'm going to make are we're going to reuse this blue-green several times. That way we cut down a little bit. I don't think that there are any compromises that I can make here. Yeah, I should be able to just use white. Give us a little more depth here. So now, how many colors are we at? We're at 9 colors. So we were able to cut down 3 colors by getting rid of the high TD white up here. We didn't really need it. The next thing that we can kind of skimp on, we might be able to get rid of this rust copper color. And I think that we still get a coherent image. So these are different compromises for the sake of, you know, cutting down colors. I think that it looks better with this, and we can add even more colors to make it even closer to this image. But I think that, you know, you get diminishing returns for a certain amount of colors. So I think that where we're at right now looks really good. Again, the main focus is going to be the 3D model coming out of it. Another thing that I want to do before we go over to the slicer is I want to bring up the base thickness and make it a little bit thicker. That way it can support the weight. So let's go ahead and we'll just bring it up to 0.92, and that thickens up the entire base of the HueForge. So right now we should be at 8 colors. So let's save this and then we will go over to the slicer. All right, so here we are in Bamboo Studio. I had to shrink this down to 235 from 245. I forgot about the exclusion zone. This guy is a little bit large, so we're gonna scale this down just a hair, bring it down to something more reasonable like this. I think that would look a little bit better here. Makes more sense as far as perspective's concerned. And then all we have to do is when we drag it over on top of it, we have to click on the actual 3D model. We'll click on the HueForge. Now both of them are selected here in the Objects tab, and we go ahead and merge. Once we merge those two together, we get an assembly here. Now we'll be able to move this up and down as we need to. So let's bring it up just a hair. The bottom of this model is flat, so that's good. If it wasn't flat, all we would have to do is use the cut function and cut off the bottom of it. We need to add a height range modifier. What is a height range modifier? Basically, we're telling the slicer to print a certain height range at a certain layer height or with certain colors or certain parameters. That's where height range modifiers are super powerful. And so for something like this, where we want to do this traditional 3D model, we don't want to print this at 0.04 layer heights because it's going to take forever to print. So we need to add that height range modifier. Then we can go in and do our color swaps, and we should be towards the finish line. I'll be able to print this. So all we have to do is click on the assembly and right click, and then we can come down here to height range modifier. So we need to do 2.68 to, I think it's 13.09, so we'll just say 14 to make it easy. Like I said, we're telling the slicer that everything in between these two areas needs to be printed at a different layer height. We need to come over here. We're gonna leave it at 0.2 layer heights. That's fine. There is some detail in this, so we might actually, we'll print it at 0.16. I think that's fine. We'll print it at 0.16. 15% infill is fine. 2 wall loops is probably okay. We'll change it off a grid. We're gonna put it on gyroid just to make it a little bit quicker of a print. So now what we need to do is, if we come over here, I've already got a HueForge profile set up. According to the describe text, remember we changed from 0.08 to 0.04 layer height. And then we need to slice. Finally sliced. You may have noticed that we are in Orca Slicer now. We are no longer in Bamboo Studio. It took 2 hours to not even get past 15% in Bamboo Studio. I'm not sure what's going on there. So we switched to Orca. It took me like 10 minutes to slice a HueForge. So anyways, let's go ahead and insert our color swaps, and you can see what the final result will be. So now we are done slicing so far. One thing that I forgot to do is, because we made it thicker with that base thickness, you can see here that we have all these layers that are just being printed at 100% infill. If we come down, all of this is just 100% infill. So we can actually put another height range modifier in here, probably up to, what's this, 0.88, and we can actually just make this 0.2 layers, because right now you can see that we're at a day and 39 minutes for print time. That's just a little excessive. So we're gonna try to cut down some more time. All right, so we got the second height range modifier in. We've got the infill for the dragon setup. We've got the infill for the base setup, and then we've got all of our layer swaps in between. We're gonna go ahead and print this bad boy, and then I will show you the final results. Now it's the next day, and I wanna give a huge shout out to Kekreations art. Go check her work out. I will have her link down below in the description. This project came out amazing. Now, originally we had 12 colors like you saw. I wanted to cut it down to 8 so that she could post it for her Patreon members or for her cults, and so that they could realistically print this if they have 2 AMSs. I didn't want to get too terribly complicated. We could have got more detail out of the buildings if I had added a little bit more rust color or red, but again, I wanted to make this as printable as possible for her and for her audience. With that being said, this thing came out amazing. The perspective of the dragon flying over the city looks incredible. I absolutely love this print, and to kick off season 2 of the artist series, I think we really hit the nail on the head. This series would not be possible without great digital artists like herself. So again, please go check her work out. And a huge shout out to all my Patreon and YouTube members. You guys are the best, and I really appreciate all of your support. If you want to see more collabs with more digital artists, please like, share, and subscribe. And I hope you learned something.